fix our eyes not on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Welcome to Faithful to the Truth radio show with Oksana Eliyahu.
Shalom.
Shalom, and thank you so much for listening to our program. We have Dr. Yates, a chiropractor, and he's going to share how the best way to take care of ourselves, of our temple. So I asked Dr. Yates, what is the most important thing in his practice that he would like to share?
The most important thing in working with people is to start where they're at. That's the most important thing. You can't turn marathon runners or triathletes out of every patient that walks in the door, and certainly don't think that that you have to be a triathlete to be healthy, or you have to be a world-class gymnast or some type of really over-the-top physical condition. Okay, you don't have to do that. What you do need to be healthy and live a long life, and this is what people tell me when they're 90 years old, what they do. Okay, you need to drink water. Everyone who is fit and getting around and having a good time in their 80s and 90s is telling me they like to drink water. Okay, how much water do you need to drink? It's not really important as long as you are drinking some and it's coming in at regular intervals during the day. It's that small break you take where you just sip on water a little bit. That is the healing event. Okay, it's not how much water, it's not that I drank a gallon. It's do you take that small little break and sip on some water just to kind of get focused and reconnected and let your stresses ebb away. That's the most important thing when it comes to water.
So you mean actually to take this little time and not just to drink water,
Yes.
because like I'm drinking water during my
Right.
work, so
Right.
actually to stop
Yes.
some kind of work that you are doing,
Yeah.
at least for a minute or half a minute.
Right. Just stop. And it's
Okay.
for people, all the older people tell me that. I just take a break when I get a little bit, going and kind of sore or whatever. I take a break, drink a little water, and or maybe they'll have a little glass of green tea or something simple like that, and no sugar. They say, "Oh, I don't like sugar, doc. I don't like sugar," and then so that's the most important thing I list. Now we can think about water as life, because without it, we certainly are not as well. And every cell in your body is made of water more than anything else. We are water, so you do need to have water, and the quality of water does matter some. That's certainly non-disputable fact that overly chlorinated water or overly fluorinated water does lead to health demise at some point. People that have that in their diet, poor quality water, do not live as long as those who drink fresh spring water or filtered water that's been cleaned. So that's quality.
But water, let's say if I drink a lot of water and even take a break and then I eat junk all day long, would I be still
that's right. You're right.
having a good life?
That's really the next thing. The next thing people tell me is that they like to eat. And what they eat is interesting. Sometimes they eat some things, like you said, and something that some people consider junk, like bacon, right? And bacon is certainly not a health food, but that's something that older people will eat. It's something they were raised on. It reminds them of their youth, I think, and they have a childhood memory of it that is forgiving.
We will have to take this bacon out because it's Messianic.
I know it.
Jewish.
I know it, but I think it's a good example of how different cultures have solved the problem of longevity, because certainly we know that we have these groups of people that have been living for really long periods of time, well into the 100s. They're called the blue zones. Go ahead and Google the blue zones and read about that if you want. There's a few books that's been written on that idea. And when you look at what they eat, okay, there are some similarities, okay? And fatty meat is one of them. Fatty meat is one of them. Now what they don't eat is a lot of carbohydrates. They don't eat bread, like lots of bread. They don't have that in their diet. They don't have a lot of fried foods, like fried starches, like fried potatoes or fried, stuffed mushrooms or what. They don't eat that kind of stuff. They eat fresh food that's been prepared that day. Vegetables. And that's the second thing that old people will tell me. I like vegetables. I eat them at almost every meal. And they eat a lot. They say, I like to eat. I eat 3 or 4 meals a day. Eating a lot means that the metabolism is good in these older people. It means that they're actually spending calories. Okay? If you want to eat, you have an appetite. If you have an appetite, you've been spending calories. It means your muscles are working. And that's the third thing that people tell me is they like to get out and do stuff. They like to be active, and they want to get out, and they're just really still go-getters. Even in their old age, they like to get out and do things. And they just have that you can't put a finger on it kind of quality. They're full of spirit, good spirit. You know, they're happy to be alive. They have a purpose in life. They're happy that God's blessed them with another day to work, to play, to share. Right? That's really why we're all here, to share our life experiences with one another. Okay, we can have a wonderful life, but if you didn't share it with anybody, who knows how wonderful your life is? No one but you and God. And there's certainly credit and importance in knowing that you have a relationship, a personal relationship. But if you don't share it with anybody, it's not near as good. And that's the other thing that the older people will do. They like to get out and share their life experience with people. Old people will also tell me, I'm the only one alive out of all my friends. And that's just, you're shaking your head. Yeah, it makes you sad. It's a tender-hearted thing.
I think it's very hard.
Yeah, I'm the only one alive. All my friends have passed on, and I'm just waiting around. And I don't know why God still has me here. Sometimes they'll tell me that because I am a chiropractor, and so when people come to see me, they're in the mood to complain a little bit, right? So because they hurt, and so they'll tell me that some. But the fourth thing is people always tell me that they stretch. They always show me a stretch. I just ask them, what do you do? And they just tell me these things, and I don't bias the question at all, so that I get a straight answer. And they'll show me a stretch that they do to help their foot, or a stretch that they do to help their back, or a stretch that they do to help their neck. And it's those are essential things. And so you ask me, what can you tell me in about 30 minutes, right, to really summarize those keys of longevity and quality of life more than anything? I mean, who wants to live to be 120 and not enjoy it, right?
Yes.
So it's really about the quality of life. Don't even worry about longevity. If your quality is there, your longevity will be appropriate. It'll be the time that you've been given properly. But it's a quality of life. And so you want to drink water, stay away from sugar. You can have occasionally black coffee or green tea or regular tea, okay, but you want to have it unsweetened. Okay, sugar is definitely a killer. It's not a disputable fact. It does not give us any health benefit.
But if person still really needs this sweet, so they can use some kind of a natural sweetener?
Well, sugar is a natural sweetener, and there's nothing wrong with having it sometimes. Okay, but sometimes it's certainly not every day. Maybe once a week would be sometimes.
What about stevia and stuff like that?
Stevia is good. Stevia is not a good solution for everyone. It is still a harsh chemical, and your body does need to detoxify it. If you are a slow metabolic detoxifier, a third of the population is. And even more now because of other stresses that are in our environment, that's another thing. We can talk about how our DNA is becoming weaker. We know testosterone levels are dropping. We know estrogen levels are rising across the entire population of the world. We know that people are not, our grandchildren are becoming obese and cardiovascularly they're very, very ill. And so we're really going to see a lot of cultures here in Americas that have obesity. We're going to see, grandparents, mother and son, all dying at the same time because of cardiovascular and obesity. And so, the point is that sugar is the cause of that, particularly fructose. And it's it's been researched and been compared. Fructose has the same effects on the body as alcoholism without the long-term, we're talking about long-term exposure to fructose. Does the exact same things to our liver, causes fatty liver disease and problems with the enzymes in the liver, just like alcoholism. Okay,
Wow.
and so we really don't want to have fructose. That includes honey. Honey is loaded with fructose.
Honey?
Yeah,
So honey is good or not?
once a week.
Even honey is not good every day.
Yeah. We really need to not laden ourselves with sweet. Okay, we need to experience all the different flavors.
So how come we kind of made the way that we always want this sweet?
Yeah,
it's
it's interesting, isn't it? I think our bodies are one thing, and our spirits are another in many respects. And I think biblically that makes sense for most people. You do need to learn to recognize that your body is a vessel. It's not a perfect system. It doesn't last forever. It's not the body that will be given when we do, like we were discussing earlier today, have rapture. It's not the same body. Doesn't work in the same way. This one's not made to last forever. It's not made to be instantly self-healing. It's not made to be without pain, right? But our body in the future will be, right? So you have every opportunity to do the best you can with the body you've been given, right? And you'll be forgiven when you make those mistakes because you have that personal relationship.
And also you pay the price usually.
Yeah,
they say, you are what you eat. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say what you are what you eat. Yeah.
But I also wanted to ask you, you're a chiropractor, and some people don't believe in this at all, and they don't think it's a way. Why do you think it's really good, or would you recommend this, and why?
It's a good question. And when I first started chiropractic school, I had a lot of hang-ups with my profession and whether I would even continue. I was on the alternate list to go to medical school and chose to not pursue medical school and apply it in another year, in the third year of application, because I was really happy with chiropractic school. What we know in medicine is that there's a counterpart to chiropractic called a physiatrist. And they do chiropractic. They manipulate the body with their hands and try to get joints to pop, right? And really mobilize the body, try to restore a deeper range of movement. So medical doctors do chiropractic, okay? And we also have doctors of osteopathy, which in addition to their regular medical training, also receive the chiropractic training by going all summer. Instead of having a break like the medical students do in the summer, they do a very intensive lab for hands-on mobilizations called osteopathic manipulative therapy. And so they do chiropractic. And then we have chiropractors also, counterparts also in our physical therapists, which are all doctors now across the world. They're getting recognized and getting clinical training to be actual doctorates. And so they're manipulating the body. And so the research has finally been done because of really the medical profession and the osteopathic profession and the physical therapy profession, who have by the insurance monies and the more money to invest. And we're looking at integrative medicine and trying to bring the cultures together. And this is something that's been sought out by the baby boomer population as they want to be healthy. They don't want to get old and take pills like their mom and dad did or their grandparents did. They want to have a better quality of life. So, hey, a pill's not working for this low back pain. I still have it. And well, you try something else. What do you suggest? Well, a chiropractor down the road. I had another patient that did okay. Why don't you try him out? And that's what I get. The doctors just say, try the chiropractic. This pill's not working for you all the way. Try that out. We have the research now to say that for headaches, for low back pain, for minor aches and pains throughout the shoulders and the knees and the ankles and the hands, you cannot beat, okay? For the stiff, achy pain, you can't beat chiropractic type modalities or movements, mobilizations. You can get them from a chiropractor, you can get them from a physical therapist if they've been trained in it, and do it, okay? Because not all physical therapists.
Massage therapists.
Massage therapists too, yeah, they can do it too.
Reflexology as well.
Yeah, whoever does this as their standard mode of treatment and is well practiced in it and been doing it for a few years ought to be fair to good at taking those stiff joints that have been locked up from tight muscles, that have been chronically tight over long periods of time, and restoring that range of movement by mobilizing that joint, softening the muscle, popping the joint free, and then allowing the tissues to come back into a normal range of movement. Chiropractors can do it, physical therapists can do it, osteopathic physicians can do it, the medical doctor who is a physiatrist specialty can do it, or an orthopedist. There's some orthopedist type mobilizers of the spine and joints. So it's a standard therapy. There's no belief required. The only thing you need to believe in life is God and Christ.
Amen.
Everything else, you just need to say, well, maybe it works for some and doesn't work for others, and that's just a fact. So the most important thing when you ask me the question, why don't I believe in this? Is chiropractic really beneficial? Is that, hey, we're all doing chiropractic. Okay, we are all doing chiropractic. Now the dispute is how many treatments do you need to get a result, and that's going to vary. Okay, I got people that get wonderful results with one visit. I've got people that I treat and treat and treat and treat and treat, and I was like, hey man, this isn't working. But they keep coming in, and then a year later they're doing better because something happened in their lives. I can tell you that most people hurt because the muscles are fatigued and tired. That's really what starts the whole process. And the muscles get fatigued and tired because of overuse and because of improper, imbalanced use. Okay, maybe they're not overusing it, but they're using it always in an awkward way. Okay.
For example?
Well, say you have a job where you have to really reach out far away from your body out to your side. And you do this, 100
Some kind
times
of crazy
a day.
movement.
Yeah, kind of odd movement. And you're doing this 100 times a day. And if you don't do a counter movement in between those odd movements to balance yourself out, you become very lopsided in the way that you position your spine and the musculature attached to it. And so that's a really common problem. So the thing you want to do is to have the body experience a full range of movement all the time, to have your body experience a balanced position sense. A balanced input will give you a balanced output. In another non-disputable fact, got to be balanced. Okay, you tilted to one side one way or the other, you're going to start to put uneven stresses onto the body, and you're going to start to wear things out unevenly, and that will hurt.
I wanted also to ask you about vitamins. What do you think?
Yeah, that's really what I was wanting to go to. And so when a muscle gets fatigued and tired, it gets that way for three reasons. One, overuse. Two, used in an awkward way. And three, it really just doesn't have the nutrition fed to it from the blood. It just doesn't have the nutrition. And so it needs to have that nutrition for it to function. And that's where vitamins come in. Okay? Every cell in your body is made of protein. As far as its functions that it does, the proteins that it creates. It makes protein, that's what it does. That's the function. Now protein is made from RNA, ribonucleic acid, and the DNA is the template for that RNA. If you want to have good proteins, you have to have good RNA. To get the good RNA, you have to have eaten the nucleic acids so that you can make that RNA. And if you haven't eaten it, it's going to be hard to heal. Okay, so every food you eat, it gives you the building blocks to create you.
So it's all about food.
It's all about the food you eat. If you eat food that has good balanced RNA and amino acids and sugars and fats, and they're the ones that you use to create your cells, no more and no less, your blood will be very clean, you will be very healthy, you will be very lean, and you will have longevity because there's no inflammation in your body. There's nothing excess, and there's nothing deplete. Okay? That's how you want to eat. To do that, vegetables and meat suffice. Well, that'll take care of almost everything.
So vitamins, like you said, it's a necessary supplement that we need to take all the time?
Well, the thing is, it's hard to get the nutrition from our vegetables and meat because they're fed to, they're nutritionally depleted. Okay, the food that they're eating doesn't have the nutrition in it, right? We know that our cattle are fed hay and grass that does not have the trace minerals, and so we give our cattle salt licks and mineral licks so that they will be healthier. We know that to be true, and we know that we'll see stunted growth or disease when the trace minerals are not there. Okay, when the salt balance is not there. Okay, so a lot of times the animal's still sick. I mean, it's not as well as it could be because it's been growing so quick. I mean, think about how easy it would be to be nutritionally deplete when you double your weight in a year. You are triple your weight. I mean, think about a calf. He's born and he gets up to 2,000 pounds in 2 years. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Or 3 years. I'm not sure how long it is.
I'm glad we are not growing this
Right,
much.
a bull. A bull can, in 3 years, can go from 0 to 2,000 pounds. And I'm not sure on that. I need to check that data. We probably ought to scratch that
Okay.
because I'm not sure to over 1,000 pounds for certain. In a couple of years, is over 1,000 pounds. That one you can leave in.
So what vitamins you think we need to take? Because it's also vitamins,
Yeah.
it's kind
Well,
of
yeah,
like
the research
almost
has
a
been-
mafia business,
It is, yeah. Their vitamins are all over the place. We know that vitamins are necessary to prevent disease, okay? And that's one level of treatment. How much do I need to prevent disease? Okay? And we have that established. The non-disputable facts for most individuals, we need this much vitamin C, or this much vitamin D, or this whatever to prevent scurvy for vitamin C, or rickets for the case of vitamin D. Okay? Those are just examples. We need at least this much, or we'll be sick, right? But how much do you need to really be healthy? Right? Well, we know you need certain levels of vitamin D to absorb calcium so that you don't get osteoporosis, right? Osteoporosis won't kill you, but you're at risk for fracture, right? So we need certain amounts of calcium in the blood, vitamin D in the blood, and some trace minerals in the blood to prevent osteoporosis.
So how people can
So
actually know they need to do the blood test all the time?
Yeah, you have to do all these really time-consuming and expensive blood tests to find out where your nutritional deficits are.
So do you think it's only applied to older people?
It's lots cheaper just to go, I'm not going to spend all my time and money doing blood tests all the time to find out where my nutrition status is. I'm just going to take a multivitamin that covers all my bases and a fish oil because I want to make sure that my omega-3 fatty acids are good. And I might take an antioxidant to keep me from getting cancer and cardiovascular disease and other inflammation disorders. Okay, and I might take a probiotic to make sure I have healthy intestinal environment so I can digest my food well. And that, if you cover all those bases, you're pretty much going to be, where you can be. Even, without doing all that expensive testing, you're still going to be able to be at a fairly good high level of function, high level of health. So again, to recap, you want a good multivitamin that has a lot of different things in it. Really, really loaded with all sorts of things. Okay, you want a fish oil, and you want one that has high EPA fish oil for inflammation. If you're having
like I, for example, don't know what that. Do you
Yeah.
think people know what you're talking?
yeah, well, they can certainly.
What
like I
is
said,
IP? Or
high? You want a fish oil that fish oils.
fish oil.
Fish
Okay.
oils, omega-3 fatty acids, are essential fatty acids. Your body does a very poor job, especially when you're sick or inflamed, of making essential fatty acids. So you have to take them. And that means you have to take fish oils, or you have to take krill oils, okay? Those, or you can take algal oils. All right, now algal oils are DHA primarily. And that one is not great at reducing inflammation.
Do you think that some chronic diseases can be treated by chiropractor and people can be healed?
Okay.
In other words, the person can have the disease because of the joints not standing together well.
Yeah. It's very rarely that the spine is the cause for a person's disease. It's usually one of the causes for a person's disease. Almost always it's a contributory. When a person walks in the room and they have a problem, they will always talk about initially, well, I did this then, or this is what happened when I got my problem. And that's the last straw on the camel's back. That's the last proverbial straw, right? We got to think about the other 6 bundles of straw on this camel. And the spine is one of the bundles. If the spine is not healthy, you're certainly not going to be healthy. I mean, yeah.
And the opposite?
If you're healthy, your spine typically is good. Yeah, when I get someone in here that is doing an exam for daycare or some type of physical examination, maybe a sports physical, and I look at their spine and test their range of movement, they look great. They're not locked up. The tissue structures are balanced and even. They can go through full ranges of movement with full stride length in their legs. And when we look at their gait cycle, they're not favoring one side more than the other. They don't complain of headache, neck pain, shoulder pain to any great extent. They don't have pain. And there's a sparkle in their eye. And you can see it. And, you know, of course you can. I've been doing this for 10 years. And you don't miss that. When a person comes in and they're in good shape, you see it. Right? And when a person comes in and they're in bad shape, you see that too. And you see it in their spine. When a person's sad, they don't walk around with their chin up and their chest out and their shoulders back, full of energy. When they're sad, they don't walk like that. How do they walk? Think about it. When they're sad, their knees are buckled in. They're looking at their toes. They're almost shuffling when they walk. Their shoulders are rounded. They have really poor posture. A lot of people are walking around with the sadness.
Yes.
And we're talking about a spiritual sadness
They
here.
don't have the joy of the Lord.
That's right. And that hurts their spine. You asked me this question, do you think the chiropractic can help? I said, well, if your spirit is not going to get with us here, it's not going to help. Because the spirit really is, that's where everything changes. I don't do anything. God does it all. The spiritual is where the healing is. You know, I can get the body to start to work better, but the spirit doesn't change the way it wants to project posture and strength and vitality onto the body. It will fall back into disrepair. So really it's the healing with the spirit that makes people well. And that's not chiropractic.
So we didn't talk about the like sport and
Yeah.
you know, if you need to do the exercises,
Yeah.
workout. Like I, for example, really hate it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what is a must?
Yeah.
Like the minimum that we have to do.
The most important thing to do every day is just like these old people. This would be a great way to wrap up too. Take your body through a full range of movement every day. That is the most essential thing. Take your body, every joint in your body, complete contraction and complete stretch every day. More than once a day, morning and night.
So how much time will it take? Let's
A
say
few
for
minutes.
a few minutes.
Just a few
only?
minutes, yeah. A few minutes in the morning, a few minutes at night.
So it's, you mean like
Like-
to move your neck,
Yeah.
to move your
Yeah. Just-
hands,
yeah.
and
Just check your full ranges of movement out. Make sure that your head can turn and twist, just like yawning in the morning when you wake up and you're not in a hurry. You know how you might just lie in the bed a little bit and yawn and stretch and start to feel the full ranges of movement come back into your spine from being at rest. And do that multiple times during the day. Make sure your body is experiencing that balanced, full range of movement input. That's the most important thing. And drink water, eat the vegetables, have a good attitude, have a good purpose in life. God does not give you any more or less than you exactly need at that moment. It's something I've come to know.
it's
as
like
being
to be
true.
thankful for everything we
Be
have.
thankful for everything. He wants us to have. He doesn't just give us everything and doesn't expect us to learn to work. And I use he in a very loose sense, right? We are here to be stressed, and the stresses that you have in your life are the ones. If you have a belief system that, now, this is a tough thing to explain. I'm not good at doing. I've never really done before, but. God is at work in every single thing that you could possibly imagine, and all the other things that are in between those things that you never even thought to imagine. And it's exactly where He wants it. It's exactly where it's supposed to be. Because we are moving toward a point, a rapture point, right? We're moving toward a point where we depart this life that we know now to have something greater. And It is a progressive point that is in constant flux, but all planned out. Contingencies are all built in. And if you ever ask for anything, right, that's good. That's what we're supposed to do. At the same time, God already knows that you're going to ask for that, and has already got it planned for you to ask for that. So you don't really have to ask for it, because you're going to get it anyway. I mean, maybe He's waiting for you to ask it. We can get into a big philosophical debate about that idea.
Mm-hmm.
But we can choose not to do God's will, right? Well, did God plan that? Right? Did He plan for me to not do what I was supposed to do with the time I was given? Right? Was that something I had to do so I would respect the time later when it really mattered? Right? We can debate that a lot.
I have another question. It's like a lot of time we hear the radios and TV and read some articles that this or that product is not good. This is not good for you. This is not. It's actually everything almost not good for you.
Everything's not good for you, and at the same time, everything could be the one thing that heals you. Right?
No, I mean the body, like you said, we are going somewhere, like it's in the future, in a rapture and in a big change for something absolute new. But this body, it's actually dying. It doesn't really matter. Even let's say if I will eat and do all this,
Right.
water,
Yeah.
I still gonna be getting older. It's not a focus, correct? You cannot be. I'm just asking. I wish you would say that it's. I'm going to be young and beautiful all my life and not having the wrinkles and stuff like that.
I think that it's very possible if you did everything right that everyone could live to be well into their hundreds. I think that's very possible, and the quality of life could be there. And you do have to do the things to create that. I'll drop a few terminology words here. One thing's called epigenetics. Epigenetics is a really hotbed of research right now. We know we can't change our DNA, but we can change the way our DNA is transcribed and literally change the protein structures. Okay? And I mentioned that earlier about RNA and being able to give your body the proper RNA so that you can make the proteins that you need for health, because it are proteins that create our bodies. When our proteins work well, we're in good order. When our proteins are not working well, we are sick, and that's another simple fact. Okay.
So like I understand it in a simple way. So I need to eat more protein.
Proteins are really important. You have to eat protein. Now, protein, typically people think of meat, but proteins are in every food that is living at the time you're eating it. Proteins are there. Starch is not a protein. Okay, if you look at white rice, most of the protein has been removed. The brown part, all the brown part of the rice is where the protein is, and they take that protein off. You look at a potato, the protein's in the peel. Okay,
wow.
There's hardly any protein in the white part. When you look at all your grains that way, oatmeal is a whole grain, so the protein is there in oats. Corn, same way, whole grain.
But oats also they kind of clean and make it very white.
Yeah.
So you mean if something's not bleached and stuff like that? Yeah.
I mean, there's been don't eat anything white has been a diet recommendation for a long time, but of course that's just a general rule. What they're really saying is stop eating so much starches. Right? Starches do not give us anything but excess energy to spend, and when we don't spend it, it goes to our fat. And it also allows bacteria to grow in our bodies that ought not to grow, because you're not spending that energy, bacteria in our bodies will, and you will get sick. Most people have bacterial infections because they overeat. End of story.
Yeah, you were saying about terminology. It was another word.
Yeah, epigenetics is working with the body to create a better function of our DNA. And we know that we can change the way our DNA is transcribed through methylation and acetylation and some other things that are even bigger words, and make our DNA to where it is longevity, make our DNA to where it lasts a really long time. You might have heard of resveratrol, rifampin. There's a number of different chemistries people are working on to try to create a cell that is very long-lived. Cancer is a long-lived cell.
Wow.
Okay? If you could make every cell in your body like a cancer cell, but it wouldn't replicate and grow crazy and grow all over the place, but stay in its tissue and perform the proteins like it would, but be, you know, completely.
Not taking over your body.
It's not taking over your body. It's still staying organized, but it is what's the word? I'm trying to think of the word. They have the word that means they never die. It means they live forever. So anyway, cancer is a time where the cells go into a continuous replication. They never die. As long as you keep feeding them food, they continue to live. And so if we could figure out how to make our cells be like a cancer cell but still be functional, continue, then we would live forever. Or we'd always be able to regenerate, tissue would die, it doesn't matter, you just grow new. And, maybe that.
But at the same time, we don't really want to be here too much time.
Well,
we want to go to a better place, no?
Well, we want to go to a better place. We all do. We also want to create a better place for our kids, and our grandkids. And we want to try and make the world a better place. We want to do both. I think it's wise.
You also were saying about this, what they do with the weeds.
Genetically modified food. Yeah, so in our wisdom to try and create a better life, I'm being a little bit, I won't say that. In our efforts to try to make a better life for our children, some of us humans have thought that it would be a good idea if we could genetically alter foods and take pieces of one food and put it in another, or take pieces of that one bacteria and put it in the one food that keeps the bug from being able to eat that food. And so we have these organisms that have mixed species DNA. And
you mean in industry here in the United States?
All over the world.
All over the world?
All over the world. Europe is an area where GMOs have been banned, but because the pollen to the genetically modified organisms goes into the jet stream, it is all over the world.
So what does actually means for us, for regular people?
What it means is we're starting to see proteins we never did see in our diet. What it means is when you eat corn, you're not just getting corn anymore. You're also getting the bacteria called Bacillus thuringiensis, BT.
Is it something good?
No. It kills the bugs that eat the corn by disturbing their gut and making it leaky. So the bug stops eating because it gets an upset stomach and goes somewhere else, and eventually it can't feed itself well enough, and so it dies.
It sounds
or at least
so
some
bad.
of them do. And they know that the corn causes leaky gut and leaky gut is basically means the gut permeability is too great. You're letting pieces and parts of protein that are too great into your blood system. And it's the Bacillus thuringiensis gene that is in a bacteria that used to be on the plants. They got it from silkworms. This bug was on the trees, and the silkworms would eat the bug as they were eating the trees, and they would die. And so they figured out that this bug was doing this to the worms, and they would spray the trees to kill that bug. And then somebody said, hey, we could use this to keep corn from getting ate by worms. And so they took the bug and they sprayed it on the corn. That did pretty good, but they had to spray it over and over because it didn't establish real well. And they still do that with organic corn. Organic corn sprayed with Bacillus thuringiensis all the time. So even organic corn is loaded with the BT toxin. Because
is it only corn you're speaking, or it's actually everything?
Yeah, it's in other things too, but primarily corn.
So
soybeans.
would you say that
Soybeans
you
and
don't
corn.
eat corn? Do you?
No, I still eat corn. I like corn, and I don't eat a lot of it, but I do try to buy organic. But I know that it still has the BT toxin in it, but it's not as much as the regular corn would be. And there are some heirloom corns that aren't sprayed or haven't done anything with. And I try to buy those. I buy, my stuff online from organic farmers bulk and just store it in my deep freeze until I finish it up, then buy more. That's what I do. And, I eat out. So I get a lot of stuff that I shouldn't eat.
Yeah.
And God knows that. I mean, I know better, right? I can take better care of my body, and I know better. I mean, when I sit down, I was like, this is not very good. This is going to cause this kind of change in my neurotransmitters in my brain. This is going to cause that kind of change in my gut. This is going to predispose me to this and this disease. You know, I know all that. When I sit down to a plate, I mean, I'm looking at it. I can't win when I eat. And I know that. It's been that way a long time. But the fact is, it's always that way. Unless I grow my own food and really just eat grass-fed, perfect, pristine, beautiful animals and the vegetables that I would grow on my own that are heirloom vegetables and keep them from collecting any kind of dust and pollen from the genetically modified organism, if there are one that would you're not going to pollinate a soybean with corn. It has to be, pollinated by corn. So if I was raising corn and there was another corn patch just down the road that was not organic or was sprayed with the BT bacteria, then I'm still getting it. So I can do all the work I want. I'm still getting it. There's a lot of controversy there. A lot of consumers or farmers are really upset. They're trying to have organic pasture, and the pasture down the way is not organic, and all the pollen's just running right into their field. And what can I do? I want this organic, and it's not organic.
Wow.
So organic still, you can still say it's organic, even if the pasture down the road isn't. But when it's not, it's still GMO. And so what they know is that it's got to be 95% or less. So they do batch testing, and they see that there's a certain limit on that to be able to get an organic label. They got another label called True Organic, which is like organic.
True organic?
True Organic, yeah.
It's like a true organic?
Truly organic, which means nothing. There's no plants anywhere around that is non-organic. This stuff is grown right off the earth.
We do
And
this.
there's a lot of spoilage there because there's nothing. The plants and bugs are eating on them, but there's some that they don't eat, and those are the ones we harvest. And that's truly organic, true organic. So that's coming up. And so, but you can spend a lot of money on organic food, and the fact is that organic food still has a lot of pesticides, even though they're organic pesticides. They're still pesticides, and they're still toxic to the bugs, and they're still toxic to us. So you're really not benefited a lot by eating all organic diet. But I certainly appreciate the idea of it, and it means you care about your body, and that counts for something.
I'm just wondering, like there are a lot of products in, like even vegetables that they kind of mixture of even apple and pear, for example, or some kind of different kind of tomatoes that they've done. They're very nice and sweet. Is it like, what do you think about that?
Yeah. I mean, where they crossbreed vegetables and crossbreed.
Yeah, they kind of get it.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they do, but
you can buy an orange, which is half orange and half grapefruit. It's called.
Yeah, it like feels that it's totally God created.
Yeah,
or what? How can we get this?
Yeah, well,
like I understand this kind of.
A long time ago, wheat was not a very big producer, and it was really prone to falling over and getting moldy and all kinds of different things. So they took this dwarf wheat and they crossbred it through genetic crossbreeding multiple times to finally reach the wheat that we have today, which has a large cluster on the top and a sturdy stem to hold it up. Okay? And so our wheat already, I mean, that was a natural way to cross-pollinate artificially, right? Till they finally got both the characteristic of a strong stem that was tall and taller, and the really heavy kernels of wheat or seeds of wheat. And so that was done through natural cross selection of proper characteristics. We do that all the time, but we could make a case for how that is unnatural because it wouldn't happen in the natural environment. You have to really work hard to do that. Corn has to be done the same way. Corn rises and you got to go through and tassel the corn to get it to be, and then they made it to where you don't have to do that anymore, that it's self-pollinating. And, all those things are things that we've done. God gave us the minds to think and discover our world and use it for good. Let's just make sure we're doing it for good, not just because we think it would be good, or wouldn't that be good if we could do this, or we got to feed the whole world, right? Generally, the world Generally, the world's not overfed or not underfed, generally. But there are a lot of people that are still starving. And it's not because they don't have food, it's because they have too much war. And if they weren't fighting so much and having war, they would grow food. And, things would be okay.
So you think this new creations that kind of man done, taking like apple and pear plants and putting together and producing a new, absolutely new kind of fruit, it's actually normal, it's okay.
That most of the time that is not going to lead to protein structures that you've never seen before. If you've eaten a pear before, you've eaten an apple before, now you're eating something that has a little bit of pear and apple all at once. Okay, we don't eat Bacillus thuringiensis. All right, we don't eat that bacteria, and now we're having to eat it. Okay, we don't eat, they're putting more protein in rice to make the rice really rich with protein, and it's going to be a really odd thing because it's going to be a protein structure you've never seen in a seed before. It's going to be odd. And I don't know how our bodies will handle that. We have 60,000 years of immune system getting used to our environment, and we've only changed it in the last 30, 40 years. That's crazy. Okay, we've been eating normal, regular, grown, what the earth could give us food for 60,000 years. And now, in the past 50 years, we're eating things that have never before been in our diets, ever. And we are certainly disturbed from this, genetically modified organisms. Now here's the thing, our human race is so resilient and so magnificent in its creation, there will be some of us who do just fine eating GMO food all day long, and they'll populate the earth, and we'll be okay.
So, for example, I buy some yogurt, like Greek yogurt they call it, and it's written like 46% of protein.
Yeah, it's because they're filtered and filtered and filtered to get the protein level up really high.
And is it really true that it's possible? So it's not something chemical reaction that they've done?
No, you're just separating out all the other stuff to leave the protein. And that's okay.
So it sounds good, actually.
Yeah, it's fine. It's cultured protein milk.
Can you give us a little bit a background of how you became a believer?
I was born into a Christian family. My original church that I was born into is called the Church of Christ, Temple Lot Branch, which was one of the original organizations of the Mormon Church before it was the Mormon Church. And my grandfather was an elder in the church and very highly respected. And that was the plan for me. I was the firstborn man in the church, from first grandson boy born, and so I was kind of slated to go in and fill that position.
They had big plans for you, huh?
They had big plans for me in the church, yeah, and I was excited about that too. Seeing the leadership that I got to see and witness, and it was odd because I really kind of took to it. I liked it. I liked the idea of sitting around and listening to the old men talk about the Bible, and I did. All the other kids would run out and play, behind. We didn't have a playground, but we had they didn't have all the nice playgrounds like they do today. We had some oak trees, and we had a tire swing back in the back, and we had a shed that had some stuff in it, like ball gloves and things like that, so we could play catch and things. But they went out to play, and I just sat in there and listened to them talk and see what their concerns were. They were amazing to me. I was really enthralled at who they were and how they thought, what they were like. And my great grandpa was an elder. My grandpa was soon to be. He was already a pastor in the church, minister in the church rather. Anyway, that's how I started. When did God really, really change my life and make me new? And that happened just a few years back. And I'd fallen out of a tree and broke my back and fractured my vertebra, rather, right?
Being already a professional chiropractor, yeah?
Yeah, and I broke my ankle. And I knew I wasn't going to have my practice. I couldn't walk. I couldn't lean forward. I needed help. And I said, God, this is your practice. I can't do it now. It's your practice. If it happens, it's going to be because of you. And it did. And my practice is going very well now. And I was able to hire the people that came on to help me. And it was a lot of help. And that's what really changed. I mean, that's when my life really became about serving the idea of ministering God to people. I don't adjust people anymore. I ask God to help them when I'm working on them. I don't tell people, you have, this vertebra's out, it needs to be moved, this degree is going to take me 3 visits. I don't do that anymore. I say, you need to get the big idea. You need to start to recognize the joy in your life, right? Because that joy is going to heal you from the inside out. You need to start to recognize that when your body posture is full of joy, it's mechanically sound too, right? And that was a lot of fun. Because that's why we're here. We're here to share the idea of Christ. Share the idea that, what is Christ's idea? Think about what that means to you. Because different things are a little bit different to everybody, right? But we can all have some things that are the same and all that too. One of them is that Christ came so that we don't have to go through the entire, you talk to this priest for that and that priest for this and make this sacrifice and make that donation here and there. We can go right to God through Christ. That's one of the biggest things that we'll all share in common, those who believe in Christ, is that we can go right to God through Christ and we can be redeemed. Right? We can be a clean slate for the rest of our lives because we've done that. That's another thing we'll all share. And it's not possible the other way. Other religions, when you do something wrong, you got to make up for it. It's going to be a mark on you the rest of your life. I'm ruined. Right? That's not right. That's an evil thought. You're not ruined the rest of your life. You get up and try again. You need to recognize that you got to forgive yourself. Okay? You got to do that. And you can't do that right unless you have Christ.
Did you experience this kind of feeling when you fell and broke your bones and stuff? Did you feel also, okay, I'm done. I don't have any choice now, like about your practicing chiropractor?
No, I didn't.
Or you did feel that you have to trust God and you're gonna.
That was what I felt. I said, God, I can see what you're doing here. Okay, I'm gonna quit. I'm gonna get out of the way, right? I'm just gonna let you work on my practice. And that's what I did. And I had more revelation. I never thought all the stupid, ignorant stuff I was doing. I never even realized it.
Can you share about this?
I can share a ton of stuff. Wow. One of the things that I was doing was I was upset when people didn't follow my recommendations. Foolish. Don't be upset. All things come in time. And you might see them back tomorrow. You might not see them back ever. Don't go home and fret about that. Everyone's on the path. We're all going to that singularity of rapture at some point, of being redeemed at some point. We're all moving to that. All of us are moving to that.
All of believers.
Well, God would like to have us all be believers.
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay, and that is the push. We're all being driven, okay, coerced by godly things. That is what we were born out of, right? God created this world, right? So we are already already God, right? We're already a part of us that way. But we have to embody it in our spirits. We have to make our spirits want that. We have to recognize that life is wonderful if we let that happen. And it's a pain if we don't.
So this was one revelation. What
Yeah,
other?
I did not fix my back until my own personal body was broken. And it was not healed until I finally let go and gave God control of my practice and let me guide me to what I needed to do. And it led to a whole change in my rehabilitation, and to get patients, which is a longer story, but really, that's a good thing to mention. What I know now is truth. You will not get healing in your body unless you traction it and stretch it first. You have to open the tissue up to a full capacity, a tall form, if you will, a stretched out form, and operate and exercise in that stretched out form, or it won't heal properly. You have to do that. And I was never trained that. I was never trained. It was an option, but it wasn't like this. You have to do it this way. You have to. I've tried it both ways. It doesn't work the other way, but it always works fast as I can get it when I do it under traction. Okay, now, there are some exceptions. If you have tissues that are already broken apart, you can't stretch those. So I want to really emphasize that you do not want to cause any sting or burn when you traction the body. You do not want to cause any pain or cramping. You're already going too much too soon. If you have any of those reflexive sting, burn, cramps, pain, spasms, shooting stuff, if you have any of that happening when you're doing traction, you're tearing your tissues. You're going too much too soon. And I see that a lot. A lot of people get inversion tables and they go upside down and they just rip their back completely apart. And they wonder why they have chronic pain, that they always got to get the inversion table to get rid of it, except for it never really gets rid of it.
So do you love your job? Your work?
I've come to love it. I didn't at first. Because it was something I did. Now it's something God does. And so, man, it's awesome. I mean, I could be at home right now. It's late. But I'm here. I'm having a good time.
Yeah, I would like also, maybe you can tell where you're located. Maybe some of the listeners are close to your area, so they would know.
Yeah, I'm in Navarino, Missouri, next to the Whiteman Air Force Base. Just about 50 miles east of Kansas City, Lee Summit on 50 Highway. You can go to my Facebook website, which is Complete Chiropractic, or you can call the 563 back number. It's 660-563-2225. Or you can go to AskDocDanDC.com. Ask Doc Dan, AskDocDan, DC.com.
Thank you so much. It was a
Thanks.
pleasure.
All right.
Oh Abba Elohim, God of Israel, you are so good. May your name be glorified. We love you and we praise you. Baruch Ata Adonai.
Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu Melech haolam שהחיינו והגיענו לזמן הזה ליום הזה יום חדש בחיים יום הלל לאלוהים יום שמחה יום ברכה יום אהבה.
Please invite us to your congregation, and we would love to come worship with you in English, Russian, Hebrew, and Spanish.
And I would be so delighted to share with you my powerful and encouraging testimony.
Please visit our website, oxanasite.com, oxanasite.com.
Please contact us by email faithfultothetruth@gmail.com.